Welcome back. Steve Beshear was Kentucky's governor from 2007 to 2015. He led the state during the Great Recession and later implemented the Affordable Care Act. Now he's come out with the book, People Over Politics. Not on Your Side anchor Craig McKee spoke with the former governor about life after politics.
What is your take on what took place last weekend and these groups in general?
Well, first of all, I feel like that every public official needs to stand up and unequivocally and very clearly state that this racial bigotry, anti-Semitism, this hatred that's out there has no place in America. That's not who we are. That's not what this country is all about. I applaud both Presidents Bush, who came out today, and they're in a different political party than me, but they said just what needed to be said, is that this has no place in America, and we ought to be standing up and denouncing it very loudly and very clearly. As far as the statues are concerned, that is debated now in a lot of the communities. You know, your war heroes, so to speak, in the Civil War, they deserve to be honored in terms of, well, they were our native sons or whatever place they may have in history. But none of us are proud, I hope none of us are proud, that slavery was the reason that war was fought for the most part. And we ought not to be honoring people because they fought for slavery. So, you know, let's find the right place and the right moment to honor these people for their service and whatever. But I don't think that they ought to be on the courthouse square. That sort of sends a message, that's who we are as a city. That's not who we are as a city. Slavery is not what we like and what we stand for. We abhor it. And so I think that's where the difference is. You don't deny history. Civil War happened. Slavery happened. But let's put it in the proper context, and let's put statues and everything really where they ought to be.
The Brent Spence Bridge. How come it never got done on your watch?
It didn't get done on our watch because your local politicians here raised so much heck over tolls that I couldn't get the legislature to act. I got it done in Louisville. You know, I got with Mitch Daniels, Republican governor in Indiana, and we got together on some bridges that had been talked about since Dwight Eisenhower was president, and we got together and figured out how to do it. And we both understood that in today's world, nobody's going to write you a check anymore. And folks here in northern Kentucky and in southern Ohio need to understand that. Nobody is going to walk in here and just pay for these bridges. It's not going to happen. I don't care what politician stands here and looks you in the eye and says, oh, don't worry about that, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. And if you want new bridges, you got to pay for them.
What do you think of Governor Bevin?
Governor Bevin, you know, I think is working hard. He's got his own set of values and his own approaches. I don't agree with a lot of them, but that's neither here nor there. You know, I don't sit around every day thinking about Governor Bevin or thinking about what he should be doing or not doing. He's got his job to do. The people will make a judgment on him at the end of 4 years, and we'll see what that judgment is.
One of the issues you had to deal with, and there's a good chunk of the book that talks about this, and that deals with gay marriage.
Right.
So when gay marriage pops up on the radar, from a personal standpoint, not from a governor, were you opposed to same-sex marriage? Well,
you got to kind of look at history. I was born in 1944. I'm a fairly old fella now. In a little town in western Kentucky. Dad's a Baptist preacher. Grew up in a very religious family. And back then, in the 40s and 50s, I mean, gay marriage wasn't even on the radar screen. And the only way even homosexuality was talked about was in terms of it's a sin and, you know, it's bad and that. And that was just the view, I think, of a vast majority of people back at that time. You know, it's a journey, though. And as you grow up, and I went off to college and you know, I got to know gay folks as well as straight folks. And the more you're exposed to the world, the more broad-minded you get, the more you learn. But it was a growth experience for me over a long period of time. By the time I'd arrived at being governor, I felt like that really it shouldn't matter what gender you may think of yourselves as, or whether you're gay or straight. I didn't want my personal feelings to really digress from what we were trying to do, and that was, boy, this needs to be decided by the Supreme Court. This needs to be over with one way or the other. We need to have a clear set of rules. We need to have a clear opinion. And so we took our case up to the Supreme Court, and that's what we got. And I think the Supreme Court made the right decision.
Is this book a bipartisan book? Would a large group, in your opinion, of Republicans read through this and go, you know, I agree with what he's saying here?
You know, I think a large group of Americans will agree with this, regardless of what party they're in. I think most of us are sick and tired of politics the way it is these days. This gridlock, this partisanship, putting party and putting their own selfish interest in front of the people's interest. I think people are disgusted. They're ready to throw the whole bunch out and start all over again. And I don't think they care whether it's Republicans or Democrats. I think they just want some common sense people who will kind of meet in the center and try to figure out what the common ground is and make things work.
Steve Beshear told Craig McKee he has no plans to run for public office. He says he's busy teaching and spending time with his 3 grandchildren.